Hello, my name is Earl, and in the previous video, we replaced Atavism's login screen for the one I built using Unity's UI Builder. There was struggling. However, we didn't change the code, so that's what we'll do now. Sheesh, I haven't even gotten to the game part because I'm still fiddling about with the login, which was working perfectly fine. Whatever. Anyway, the first thing I want to look at is the panel settings because I need to fix the scale mode. Watch this. When I change the resolution on my game, notice how everything doesn't keep a consistent size. This took me forever to figure out because I don't read documentation. In fact, I was playing around and in my UIlog and UIDocument, I found this thing called panel settings. And then when I selected it, I found it here and clicked it to open it. And hey, what's this scale mode? Scale with screen size. Reference resolution. Well, that's what I built it in. So, watch what happens when I change the resolution. Blew my mind. It was that easy. I spent forever Googling this and found nothing because my Google skills suck. Okay, before I go over the code, I needed to recreate the screens for the full Atavism login experience. So in UI login source, I made a bunch of updates. I added screens, I renamed things for consistency, I added additional class styles. You can download these files in the description for a more detailed look, but I'll give a brief overview now. First is the screen login you saw me build in the last tutorial. There's also the screen register screen, the screen to show an error, and then a screen to show a message. Atavism didn't have an error screen, all messages were displayed with one dialog box, but I wanted to split them up, so I made these two separate screens. For all of these screens, I made a style class called Screen Centered. You can see each screen has this class style. It makes sure their position is absolute, so they overlay on top of each other, and then I changed it so their contents were center aligned and their size was 100%. Great! With the screens ready to go, we can look at the code. The original script for logging in is found off of the main camera object within the login scene. It is called Login Controller. If I click it, I can find it here. Now, I can either completely overwrite this file, or I can create a brand new file with a new class. I'm going with the latter, so let me delete this file, or at least change its file extension so Unity doesn't recognize it. Is there an easier way to do this? Probably. Please tell me if you know. And then back in the main camera, I removed the login controller script. Scary. Anyway, outside of this video, I already created a new file, and I threw it into the UI folder, and it's called UI Login Controller, and it's pretty much a copy and paste of Login Controller. I didn't have to change much to get it working. So first, let me add this code as a component to our UI login script. And now let's see how these differ. My code is on the left, and the original is on the right. And again, you can download this file in the description below. First off, I have a bunch of reminders to tell me what the original code was in case I need to go back. And down here you can see I created a completely different class, UI Login Controller, instead of Login Controller. For the variables, I removed most of the original ones, pointing to all the game objects for the old login. Oh, and I also made MD5 encryption true by default. I don't know why things were stored in plain text to begin with. And then here are all my visual element variables for the UI I built. There's a lot of them. Okay, here's the start method, and this is where I initialized all of the variables so they reference the UI, just like I showed in the last video. This part here attaches the original methods to the buttons I created. For example, clicking the login button will execute the login method. The tricky part for me was figuring out the toggle control. Notice how we needed to register this callback to its value being changed? I thought we could do the same thing that we did with the buttons, but no, not that I could figure out, so I just found a way to do it this way. Anyway, once our variables were defined, it was a simple matter of search and replace to change the old ones. Although one thing I needed to figure out was the text field control. To set it, do you use the value field or its text field? Apparently, you use its value field, as shown here. Same thing goes with the toggle control. Oh, and Atavism had the username and password fields and then these temp fields. I know the temp fields were used, but not the other ones, and I don't know why, so I deleted them. I hope I didn't need them. Here's the updated ToggleSave. I needed to give it the change event parameter. Scroll through some variable name changes until we get to the show login panel and show register panel. If you recall from last video, this is how you turn visual elements on and off. More variable name changes. I did make this change in OnEvent. Since all event messages were usually error messages, I had ShowDialog show an error message by default. But But I did modify ShowDialog to show a normal message. Remember, I have two styles of showing messages. The resolving world message showed up with the error style, so I had to add that in here to show up as a normal message. I also did that to the accounted created message here to show up as a regular message and not an error. Let's see with error messages. This one says to contact the Dragonsan team if there's a problem. It's hard-coded in there, so I changed it to say my team. I shouldn't hard-code it, but I'll do that. I'll fix that later. And finally, here's my modified ShowDialog code. It will either show an error message or a normal message background. And you can also turn the button on or off. Below that, I had to add a hide dialog method to hide messages. And then I removed the ShowDialog with button because I don't think it's being used, but I could be wrong on that since I didn't search for it in the other scripts. Oh well. I'll add that in if it comes up as a bug. And we're done. Look how quick this video was. Let's go and see it work. I'm going to run the game. We'll make it full screen and I'll change it to a higher resolution so that it's bigger. Haha, it scales fine. Let's first register, fill in all this info and hit create. And I need a better password. That's good to see that works. So I'll fix that and create. Great. Oh, it still has the old username and password. I should have had it change that. Oh well, let's put in our page information and log in. Resolving world shows up without a button, okay. And we logged in. Whew, there we go. In the next video, I can finally fix this character customization screen, but that's going to be a beast of a chore, so it's going to be a while until that next video. Anyway, I hope you learned something. I know I did. And thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.